Welcome, everybody, to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. Lorenzo Phan sitting here with...
Kevin Hord.
How you doing, my man?
Doing well. Doing well.
Yeah. Today we're talking Clone Wars, Witches of the Mist. This is Season 3, Episode 14, which aired January 21st, 2011. And directed by Giancarlo Volpe, written by Katie Lucas.
Yeah, this is week 3 in a row of Katie Lucas.
Yes.
So I'm not convinced this story is wrapped up here. I wonder if Katie Lucas come back next week as well.
I am wondering that as well. We will get to why by the end of our discussion for sure. But the fortune cookie for this episode is the path to evil may bring great power, but not loyalty.
Who you got?
I am kind of all over the place with this one. Like the obvious one to me is like Yoda.
Okay, that was the first name I wrote down. What's
right.
What do you got next?
I could see even Obi-Wan saying this as well.
Okay, I definitely debated him.
Yeah.
The second name I wrote down was Palpatine.
Mm-hmm.
The third name I wrote down, I think I'm going to save.
Okay.
Can we put a pin in this and come back to it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. So what's going on in our newsreel?
Basically a recap of the last two episodes.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward. Nothing terribly new getting brought up. Just basically that the Jedi are aware of Master Halsey and his Padawan Knox from the previous episode getting killed, and the Jedi are going to try and figure out who killed them.
Yeah, at the beginning of the episode proper, their bodies are being transported back to Coruscant, so that's where the episode actually starts. Yeah, the only note I had for the newsreel was basically like a Savage Press recap, and then we kind of blend that into what's going on here, and you start with a ship landing on Coruscant.
Yep. So as you said, Master Halsey and Knox are brought back. They are aware that there was quite the massacre on Devaron. There were no survivors of any sort at that temple. And then Obi-Wan and Anakin are kind of discussing that they're pretty sure that it was an assassin under Count Dooku.
Okay.
But that the brutality...
Is this when they're still on the platform?
I think so.
I don't think Anakin was...
Am I melding?
Anakin wasn't there. So it was...
Right. So it's Mace Windu, Obi-Wan.
On the platform is like Adigalia, Plo Koon, Obi-Wan, and maybe a fourth Jedi. And Adigalia says, like, oh, it's so terrible. Plo Koon is like, is this, this is bad shit. Is this a new Sith Lord? And then Obi-Wan says, this isn't, what's he say? It's not a Sith Lord. This is a reckless, impulsive animal.
Right.
Then we cut over to Dooku and Savage Press doing some lightsaber training. Dooku tells him that he has no technique, says that he's sloppy. I think there's some force lightning that happens.
There's a lot of force lightning.
There's a lot of force lightning in this episode. Then we cut back to Coruscant, and somebody comes up to Obi-Wan, and they're like, hey, Yoda wants to talk to you. So then
right. See,
then
I was
Obi-Wan,
all these scenes in my head.
It's because they cut pretty quickly.
They are happening very quickly. Yeah. So, yeah. That said, basically Obi-Wan and Anakin. Obi-Wan essentially gets tasked to track down the killer. When he gets shown some footage from Devaron, and he really quickly is mistaking the killer for Darth Maul. But he is very definitive. He's like, I killed him back on Naboo.
Yeah, it can't be him. I killed him myself.
Right. And again, with the hologram, it's pretty grainy. You don't get coloring, But Yoda and Windu are like, yeah, it's not Maul, but there are other people on Dathomir that look a lot like Darth Maul, and they even bring up that even though he wasn't born on Dathomir, that's where he was raised.
Yeah. So you know why this line is included, right?
No.
So before the Clone Wars, Darth Maul's species was listed as a Zabrak-Erodian,
right?
Which would be a Zabrak that is from Erodia. But these guys are from Dathomir. So that's why Obi-Wan's like, I thought that Darth Maul was from Erodia. And then Mace Windu says, well, the Zabraks are from Erodia, but these Zabraks resided on
immigrants to
Dathomir.
A different planet.
Right.
Right.
So there's like a subsect of Zabraks that are
from Dathomir.
Right.
Right.
I thought it was interesting that Yoda calls Savage Opress a creature. Like, Obi-Wan's like, nah,
right.
It can't be Maul. I killed him. And he was like, no, this is another creature that is kin to him, or something like that. It's just these episodes, or this episode specifically, it's like, Savage Opress is called a creature, a monster, an animal, and I don't know if it's Katie Lucas trying to like dehumanize him, or if this is her way of placing judgment on the people that are using this verbiage. Does that make sense?
Right. I agree with you that it is confusing on what I'm exactly supposed to pull from the phrasing and terminology that they are applying to Savage. I was reading it basically as the Jedi were seeing the brutality of even Savage as being too much, even after everything they saw. That's from an in-universe explanation. That's how I was sort of interpreting.
Yeah, I can get down with that.
Yeah, especially because they have video footage of what happened, and that Savage, and they don't know his name yet, but the fact that he was just mowing people down. He didn't even have a lightsaber. He had that big
axe
giant
thing.
Staff axe. Yeah. So I think that's part of why the Jedi feel comfortable in kind of dehumanizing this killer. Right. So with that said, then Obi-Wan then is tasked to try and find this killer. He goes to Dathomir. Anakin is there with him. They show up to the village where Savage was raised. Obi-Wan and Anakin have a back and forth a little bit here where they're like, yeah, just don't. Obi-Wan's like, don't start up any trouble. And Anakin's like, I won't. No, I definitely won't. And then the first thing that happens is a bunch of Zabraks jump around them.
Right. Some Night Brothers.
Weapons drawn. Yeah. The Night Brothers are there. They get in a little fight, but even though lightsabers are drawn, Obi-Wan's like, don't hurt them. And Anakin's like, yeah, tell them that. And they're trying to fight in a defensive manner rather than offensive manner. Anakin then jumps up to the leader dude, Brother Viscus.
Is that who it is?
Holds him hostage. Yep, that's Brother Viscus.
Okay.
We had that question last week.
Did we get it right?
I think so.
I don't remember.
But I don't remember either. But yeah, so Anakin holds a lightsaber up to Brother Viscus' neck. That Brother Viscus's neck. Let me say that right. And is basically like, yo, everybody stop fighting. Like, we're just here for information.
Chill out.
So then.
Chill out.
Right. Yeah, we're not here to fight you guys. We're just trying to figure out there's an assassin. We're pretty sure he came from this village. Who is he with? What is he doing? Why? Why is he doing?
They're definitely definitive. Like, he came from here. And then Viscus is like, how do you know that? And Obi-Wan's like, dude, I saw a video. Like, the Jedi Council knows he came from here.
Right.
And Viscus is like, go talk to Mother Talzin. Like, she'll be able to give you the info.
Right. I do think it's funny how quickly Brother Viscus is all about ratting out shit right now.
Well, I mean, he's literally trying to save his neck.
But it's still just... What is the incentive other than... We'll talk more about this maybe, but... So we see Savage sucking at training with Dooku, right? But to be fair, I thought Count Dooku was being a little hard, being that it's been, what, a day or two at most since Savage has been with Dooku?
Yeah, he's had 2 training sessions that we've seen in this episode. The lightsaber training where Dooku called him a loser and then just force lightnings his ass like a whole bunch, and then he's like, this lightning will help make you angry, and being angry will help you be stronger.
Right. And then Savage even just straight up is like, I hate you, and he's like, good. Like Dooku is like, yes, that's exactly what we're after.
And there is another little training thing where he's supposed to be lifting rocks, and not rocks like Luke did,
like columns, like giant, giant obelisks, basically, like fat obelisks. Like they're not tall, basically.
And there's like 15 of them.
Right. So I just think it's really funny how harsh Dooku is, even though it's like day one, you know? Mm-hmm. It's like yelling at the cashier for not knowing where all the buttons on the cash register are. Yeah,
potentially Savage Opress showed up to Dooku's doorstep yesterday. Maybe last week.
Yeah, like a week at most is what I'm giving that.
Yeah.
But like the fact that the bodies are just getting transported back to Coruscant, like I wouldn't give that more than a week. Like if there was maybe some sort of like weird bodies going on tour, like Ava Perón style sort of thing.
I think if anything, what would instigate the time delay of a week or longer, right, would be that everyone there was killed. So it's going to be one of those things where it's like, hey, have you heard from Halsey in a while? Like, no. Maybe we should go check on him. Okay, let's find somebody to go check on him. Like, call up a Padawan and somebody else. I'm going to stay here and sit in my cushioned chair. Like, hey, you guys need to go check him out. And that, you know, so then there's that, and then there's that amount of time that
exactly
is in delay here. So it takes a few days for them to figure out that Knox and Halsey.
Yeah, like the singer Halsey.
So,
yeah, I just found that funny from Dooku's vantage point of just kind of being real hard on Savage, even though he literally just got hired. Like even a week into it, you know.
Yeah, he's still the NFG. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts. Like,
So that part is funny to me. But back to Brother Viscus. Brother Viscus is real quick to be like, oh no, we sent this dude off to Mother Talzin. That's like, that is not on our hands.
Yeah, he says that a member of her tribe came to find a mate.
Right. Yeah.
So
which is oddly explicit.
Yeah. And weird.
Yeah. Is that what they think, or is that what he's just saying?
It's probably what he thinks.
Okay. Yeah.
So, that being said, does that mean that Savage Opress and his buddy Farrell didn't want to be chosen because they are orientated towards a same-sex relationship?
See, I don't
don't stand out so you don't get chosen as a mate.
Well, no, see, now thinking back to the last episode, like these two statements don't jive with each other.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no way that having those men line up and Asajj Ventress picking at how weak they are or whatever. They're not fast enough, or they can't operate this weird fucking moving maze of rocks that's happening as not being mate material. Right?
I mean, to each their own. She's got certain qualities that she's looking for. Maybe some people want, big horns, or some people want flexibility and dexterity. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, so
maybe this is the common practice on Dathomir. Maybe this is why the Zabraks were brought over from Erodia, and then they were interbred.
I don't know about that one.
I don't either.
All the same, I would not try to retroactively, based on one line in this episode, try to apply queer theory to Savage and Feral. Like, at all.
Okay.
Just because that's a stretch.
I think it's a huge stretch.
Yeah, and also that would
and I'm the one that brought it up.
Right, and also that would just kind of be like offensive to queer theory as just a concept.
There's that as well.
But like, I mean, the idea of retroactively applying that to things is obviously not uncommon.
It's like J.K. Rowling.
Well, not even that. It's just there are ways to do that. The best example, and we're just a small side tangent, but Bride of Frankenstein.
Okay.
So it's the sequel to Frankenstein. James M. Whale, now known as a huge homosexual man, right?
Okay.
Living in an era in the 30s when that was very much not cool. So what does he do with Bride of Frankenstein? He has a movie in which two male scientists join forces to create life. And not just any life. They create a bride for Frankenstein. So, in essence, you have a movie where two men create a woman who is typically the symbol for fertility and new life.
Right. Interesting.
Applying queer theory to that is easy, right? That's super easy to do. Like at the time, nobody was really quite seeing it that way. But, 80 years later, that shit is clear as day. Right?
Okay.
Clear as day. But then just trying to find one line from this episode, and then the fact that Feral and Savage are actively avoiding Asajj Ventress. Yeah, it's I don't know about that one. Just based on what happened last episode, honestly, last episode was so straightforward to me in what was happening, in what she was looking for, that this line makes no sense to me. It doesn't add anything to the previous episode. It doesn't fix anything of the previous episode. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so is Viscus just passing the buck here? Like, yeah,
he's just
okay,
saying
he
shit.
came from here, but like, go over there.
Right.
Leave
I
us.
think he's just saying
go.
shit. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's easier to say that she was looking for her mate rather than, oh yeah, like we're an assassin farm. Right?
Okay.
So,
which
at
is
this point,
which is why like the Maul Savage kinship thing is problematic.
Right.
But we'll come back to that. At this point, we cut over to Dooku and Savage.
Yep.
Dooku he says something like you passed your first test, or you've made it past step 1 or some shit. I don't know. Something to the effect that that Savage is on like the next stage of training, right?
Right.
And
so then did he pass phase 1? Like, how do you get to phase 2 if he's as pissed off as he is about how phase 1 went?
I mean, I guess while Obi-Wan and Anakin were talking to the Knight brothers, then Savage did something good.
I guess.
Or Dooku's like, fuck it, we're moving on to stage 2. We'll come back to stage 1. I have no idea. But he sends him to Toydaria to collect King Katunko.
Yep.
Says
capture him alive.
He says, capture him alive. I don't care if you kill everybody else that's in your way. Capture him alive. Then, of course, we cut back to Obi-Wan and Anakin. They've arrived at the Night Sisters. Obi-Wan has debriefed Anakin on who Mother Talzin is. There's a whole bunch of Night Sisters like sneaking around in some giant ass trees and shit. Obi-Wan kind of senses them, but they do get surrounded and de-lightsabered, and then taken.
So they get surrounded twice in this episode in very quick succession, which I found funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I guess like both groups of people that they are approaching, like they're not approaching in an aggressive manner. Like all they want to do is talk and get some information, but those groups are the aggressors.
Right.
So even earlier, like when Obi-Wan does say something to Anakin, like, hey, I told you not to fucking do anything. Anakin's like, I didn't fucking do anything. Like, we just walked in here.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan's like, sure.
I just think it's funny that it happens twice on the same planet with essentially the same species of people, right? This time the Night Sisters have those glowy bow and arrow sets.
The glow and arrows?
Glow and arrows. Very nice. Very nice. But then, so they meet Mother Talzin.
Yep. She's sitting at a table. She's got a fire crystal ball. She definitely denies anything, and then Obi-Wan's like, come on. She's like, okay, I'll give you the information, and she does.
Looks into the glowy ball thing.
Yep, and she says that Savage Opress is on Toydaria.
Again, very quick to give him up. Very quick to give him up.
Yep, so then Obi-Wan and Anakin leave, and I guess they get their lightsabers back. I don't know if I missed that.
Yeah, I think it's all. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
they have them later.
Just because, no harm, no foul. They were there. They were peaceful. They left peacefully.
Yep.
They didn't create further aggression of any sort.
So they get their weapons back. They take off.
Can we really quickly though discuss like Mother Talzin denies being a witch for a hot second. Sort of, right? But then she denies it while she's in the outfit with the floaty
tentacle shoulder pads. Yeah.
And the fact that her voice does the weird ethereal reverb.
Yeah,
thing.
We actually haven't talked about her voice yet.
Right. Not at all in 3 episodes, right?
Not at all yet.
So,
and I'm glad you bring it up.
Yeah. So she has this weird. It's sort of echoey. It's sort of. I'm still trying to figure out if it's literally just a repitch of the original voice actor's performance, or if it is a secondary voice that is kind of being auto-tuned as well, or both.
I was thinking the same thing, but the credits definitely don't say, like, there's only one voice actor credited, right?
Right.
Which would lead me to believe that it is just some digital manipulation.
All the same as, it could be as simple as, like, if somebody's credited as, like, additional voices, right?
That's true.
But, yeah, so I'm curious about that. I'm also curious if that's a thing everyone can hear, because nobody has brought it up. So I'm trying to figure out if it's diegetic at all.
Interesting.
But nonetheless, the floating outfit is visually diegetic, I guess. Like, it's there, right? People can see
there's no denying that when you look at her. The collar of her getup undulates like seaweed underwater.
Yes. Yeah. So while that's all happening, which, that is not something that is common even in this universe, the idea of seaweed undulating clothing, right? That the Jedi are like, well, we know you guys are potential sorcerers, and Mother Talzin is like, oh, we can't believe the Jedi would read into rumors so heavily and take evidence out of rumors. And they're like, no, I mean, come on, because number one, your voice is doing funky shit, and literally your shoulder pads are floating in the air. And even amongst our technology, that is not normal. And then she's finally like, fine. And then she like does the thing on the orb, and nobody flinches, But it was just weird to me that she even tried to deny it for a hot second, and then gives up. Yeah, it's Today area. Like, okay, easy as that.
Yeah, she pretty quickly gives up the info.
Right.
There's the confrontation is not really heartfelt.
No.
The two times that it's happened already. It's like,
kind of happens.
It's like, hey, I need this info. I don't know anything. I think you do. All right, well, here it is.
Right. It's close-ish to Austin Powers' Spy Who Shagged Me, where they're talking to Mustafa, and they're like, who sent you? Die in hell, Austin Powers. Who sent you? I will never tell. Who sent you? Okay, it was Dr. Evil. Well, that was easy. I hate it when people ask me things 3 times in a row. It's really annoying. Oh, okay. Why did Dr. Evil send you? Burn in hell.
Why did Dr. Evil send you?
Like, do we really have to do this? Okay. Why did Dr. Evil send you? I will never tell. No, we asked 3 times. Oh, no. Because you asked me, do you have to do that? That starts a new line of questioning.
This is a different question.
Right. So that's pretty much exactly what happens here. So we end up on Toydaria, correct?
Yes, we end up on Toydaria.
Not with the Jedi.
Not with the Jedi. Real quick, before we get there, after Obi-Wan and Anakin take off, Ventress does her walk from like off screen around behind Mother Talzin, talking to Mother Talzin. They have a little interaction. Mother Talzin says, it's time for you to take your apprentice and execute the plan and get rid of Dooku. And
Asajj expresses some doubts.
Yeah,
that
she's like,
Savage is not ready.
Yeah, she's like, he's been there like 15 minutes. Like, I don't think he's ready. Mother Talzin's like, oh, he's ready. You guys can do it. Just move along.
Okay, another thing I have to ask is this. We've already discussed how oddly sped up these chains of events. This chain of events has occurred.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie. Despite the fact that we are on the 3rd episode of this arc,
okay,
I did not expect the plan to have need for execution on the 3rd episode. Because now, if this was drawn out maybe over 6 episodes even, right? That would feel like there's been some development. But 3 in with 22 minutes per episode, this plan seems overly complicated for the time frame that they wanted things to happen. Does that
I don't disagree with you.
Yes. Yeah.
I do feel like this should be a minimum like a half a season thing.
Right, definitely.
Although with Katie Lucas writing all 3 of these, I feel like potentially we're going to have more than just these 3, a 4th. I don't know if it goes on beyond that.
Right.
And you're going to have close to a Clone Wars movie length series of series of episodes that are arced together, and that her intention was to have the things play out in that time frame.
Right. I just feel like in any other normal sort of primetime show, like you said, this could be an arc that could potentially last a season.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But it gets condensed and compressed into 66 minutes, right? Like as of now.
Right. This is nowadays in Star Wars animation. Savage Opress would have been created right before the mid-season break.
Right.
Then you've got 3 or 4 weeks to mull it over, and then Savage Opress comes back, and then maybe it's another 4 or 5 episodes.
Yeah. But then we would get a lot of Savage by himself in a room saying things like, okay, I'm here as a spy. I need to do spy things. I got to spy on Dooku, and I'm going to kill him.
Yes.
Oh, I shouldn't have said that out loud.
I hope he didn't hear me.
Right.
And he'd have a droid following him around.
Right. Yeah. So, that
sounds like another show.
I wonder what that could be. I did feel that things were happening very quickly. Like, I was kind of surprised that we didn't have. Okay, I'm gonna jump the gun in the discussion a little bit, but I won't spoil anything per se. But I was kind of surprised that we didn't have another episode kind of focused on just Dooku Savage, almost. Like, the idea that Dooku is trying to train Savage could have been its own episode, honestly, to me, if there was a sense of progression enough there.
For sure. The most rushed things in this episode are the Dooku Savage stuff. Like, when Lorenzo and I say that it cuts pretty quickly, like, we'll be on Anakin and Obi-Wan, and then it's like, oh shit, cut to Savage and Dooku, and there's like 3 lines of dialogue. Dooku's like, do this thing, and Savage's like, oh, it's hard, and then Dooku fucking shoots him with Force lightning. He's like, does this help? And then Savage does the thing, and then we cut back to Obi-Wan and Anakin. This happens 4 times?
Yeah.
In this episode? At least 3? 4? Maybe more?
Like that specifically, but then the cuts do not slow down. They just... We'll talk about that a little bit more later. But, the rock lifting scene especially, I was sitting there just wondering, like, what? This is a perfect opportunity for, like, a Rocky-style montage, honestly. You know? Like, take 2 minutes, have a dialogue-free scene of just, if we're going to be this quick, you know.
Of, like, lightsaber training, and then...
Lightsaber training, rocks not being picked up, hand-to-hand combat not going well. Fuck, like, this is exactly what happens in, like, Mulan. Just sing I'll Make a Man Out of You or something, right?
I was, when you started saying, like, a training montage, I was thinking more like Batman Begins.
Right.
I think that would be pretty effective as well.
Exact same thing. So... Yeah, it's already moving so quick that it's still weird to try and have like a full scene, right? Like that's how quick this shit is happening. That I needed that Team America style montage to happen.
Oh my god! Always fade out at the end of a montage.
It feels longer if you fade out at the end of a montage. That said, so then we do show up on Toydaria we start with Savage, correct?
We start with Savage.
Savage runs into the throne, or he lands outside of the castle, I guess. Is that what this is?
Sure.
The main palace?
Yeah.
Right. Toydaria's main palace. So there are some guards outside. Oppress, Savage,
dispatches
force chokes a couple of them. Yeah,
very quickly.
Yeah, they're dead, real dead. there are some guards inside that inform King Katunko. They're like, hey, somebody's here. Like, watch yourself. And they fly off.
They all get dead too.
Yep. Savage like cuts through, blows up the door. Then
Anakin and Obi-Wan show up at this point.
They show up, but basically Savage gets a hand on King Katunko and tries to drag him out of there. But then that's when Obi-Wan and Anakin enter the palace, and they're like, hold it right there, bitch. So they start fighting. They're fighting on some elevated platforms. King Katunko tries to fly away. Savage force grabs him, but then while
maybe a little
Anakin
too hard.
Anakin and Obi-Wan are still trying to engage with Savage. So Savage, in trying to hold on to King Katunko, squeezes very hard, and King Katunko goes straight down.
Yep.
From like 50 feet in the air. Just down. And it's pretty darn explicit. And I'm not going to lie. I kind of dug it. Really dug it.
He got dead.
Real dead.
He got
loud
real
snap.
dead.
Yeah. Real snap. You see his eyes roll up. You see him drop.
Yep.
So then we get a nice big old fight with Obi-Wan and Anakin and Savage. A nice three-way fight. But then what happens exactly here? Now I'm trying to catch up with.
I think Savage pulls the little pods that they were fighting on down and like smashes them on Anakin and Obi-Wan. So they're kind of buried in rubble, shall we say, platforms. Yeah. Savage grabs Katunko, runs out, and
not realizing he's dead, I don't believe.
Oh, I think he knows. He drags him out by the ankle. He doesn't even try to pick him up. He grabs him by the ankle. He drags him out. He does a nice force push on the Jedi's, not even starfighter, transport.
Right, yep.
Pushes it off the landing platform, gets on another ship, takes off. Yep. Then Obi-Wan and Anakin unbury themselves. They come outside, and they're looking down at the burning remains of their ship. Anakin definitely takes note of that, and Obi-Wan's like, oh, don't worry, we'll just borrow one from the Toydarian. So they just turn around, run to the next ship.
Take it.
I didn't see any bartering about
nope.
Payment or anything. Nope, they just...
Because we just see them...
They hop in, they take off.
Flying. I will say real quick, there's a little detail in the animation that tickled me. It's not meant to be funny. It's just one of those things that visually I am always tickled by. As Savage is dragging King Katunko's dead body out the door by one ankle, so he's just dragging him by one ankle, as you mentioned. There is a little lip between platforms.
Oh, so it does like the bump with the head bump?
Yeah, and the head bumps up.
Nice.
I just enjoy that little detail. It's part of the growing up watching Three Stooges physical comedy sort of thing in my blood that just... I get that he's dead. I get that it's not supposed to be funny. For whatever reason, smile comes to my face. I think we had this discussion before with, oh God, it's from so long ago, but it's when somebody was punched in the face and they were dragged face down and then down some steps.
Oh, so that would have been on Star Wars Resistance, the new Trooper episode where the kids from Tehar knock out the trooper, and then it's Kaz and Niku carrying this trooper, and I think Niku drops his in, and Kaz just drags him down the stairs, and it's just like ka-kunk, 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 ka-kunk. And
I feel like there was a Clone Wars one though too, because I remember there was somebody that got unconscious, and then they were taken prisoner, and then you and I had the discussion. This is so from so long ago. But I brought it up again too, where you saw no comedy in it, but for whatever reason, I was mentioning like, if it's head up, then it's one thing, but there's something indignant about being face down and getting dragged that is so comical to me.
Man.
Even though it's very clear that is not the purpose. But in this case, even though King Katunko is face up, there's just something about the
head bob.
Yeah, the head bob, the head bump. So indignant about that it just makes me giggle. But yeah, and the fact that Savage just has no qualms about just dragging this dude. We already know Savage. Yeah, we already know Savage is strong enough to throw Katunko over his shoulder, but for whatever reason decides not to in this case.
I think the reason is because he knows that Katunko's dead and he doesn't give a fuck. He's literally just dragging his body.
Just dragging him out.
Why pick him up when we can just drag him? The dude's dead anyway. He's just, he is dead weight is what he is. So he flies off.
Mm-hmm.
Obi and Annie fly off after stealing from some helpless Toydarians that just had all of their royal guards
all the guards
slaughtered.
Are dead. There are a lot of ships around that the guards aren't using anymore.
So that makes it better?
I'm not saying it makes it better. I'm just saying that they have access to ships.
Fair enough.
They're not saying no.
There was some people out there flying around. For all you know, like, these guys just came to drop off Katunko's fucking groceries or some shit and just got their fucking car stolen.
Right. Yeah, who knows? So we end back up on Serrano, right?
Yeah. No. It seems like Serrano.
I think it's Serrano. I think we're still back at... So any scene with Dooku and Savage, I think, is back on Serrano.
I don't think it is, though. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because... So Savage does arrive back to Dooku. Dooku is like, what the fuck, you idiot. I told you I needed this guy alive. So he's pissed because Katunko's dead, and then there's more Force lightning. Yeah.
Do we know why Dooku needs him alive at all, or is it just
not
just
yet.
for this? Just this. Okay.
Okay. At this point, enter Ventress. She does a little forehead tap and says, Savage, don't forget who your real master is. And he's like, yes, mistress, it's you. So then they fight Dooku.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, Anakin and Obi-Wan see the dreadnought, and they're like, oh, they must have gone to the dreadnought, land on the dreadnought, and then they come in. Then it's like a 5-way fight, kind of, because there's like a transference of who is fighting whom is fighting whom, however that works.
The situation changes quickly and often is what I wrote in my notes.
Yes, because at first it's Savage and Dooku. Then it is Savage.
Just list it out, yeah.
Then it is
Savage and Ventress.
Ventress versus Dooku.
Versus Dooku.
Then it is Savage versus Anakin and Obi-Wan. Did I miss?
No, you missed something. So,
okay.
The one you missed is that it turns to Savage versus Ventress
and Dooku.
Mm-hmm. Because Dooku...
Because Savage is somehow...
Dooku is still shitting... Well, Dooku is still shitting on Savage. Because I had to rewatch this a couple of times to try and make clear what exactly was happening. Mm-hmm. Dooku is still shitting on Savage and is like, you worthless piece of shit. Here's more Force lightning for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ventress also is like, yo, your one job is to kill Dooku, and you suck ass at it.
Yeah, he's like, I can't. And she was like, that's because you're weak and you suck.
Right. So then Savage is like, well, fuck you too, bitch.
Does a double Force choke, lifts them both off the ground.
Yeah. Slams them both into walls.
And then they start fighting him together.
Yep. So Dooku and Ventress start fighting him. Then that doesn't go well either. Dooku jumps down a hole in the floor. Ventress follows. So then we get
Obi-Wan and Anakin show up.
Obi-Wan and Anakin show up. So then underneath the floor, we get two separate fights happening. We get Asajj v. Dooku. Then in the other scene, we get Obi-Wan plus Anakin v. Savage.
Which is real quick.
Yes.
It's like they have to show them fighting, but then
it's
Savage
like two
just
lightsaber clashes. Yeah.
Just does a force push, and they slam into a wall, and then we spend a small amount of time with just Ventress and Dooku. They're fighting each other, and then Ventress hops in an escape pod and takes off. She goes through another hole in the floor. She takes off, so she's out of the equation. And then we cut back to Obi-Wan and Anakin. They're fighting Savage again. Dooku calls up the droids, and he's like, hey, kill the droids. Because if two Jedi, a Sith Lord, and a Sith apprentice couldn't beat him, I bet a bunch of fucking battle droids could.
Right.
That totally makes sense.
By that.
So
yeah, that was silly to me as well.
We get kind of a repeat of that Phantom Menace scene where it's Darth Maul backing out of a hallway, like fighting two Jedi.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just like that single shot, and then it turns completely different. But yeah, Savage is fighting Obi-Wan and Anakin, and
gets shot by a bunch of droids.
Somehow he gets away. I don't remember exactly what he does.
He force pushes all of basically everybody. So all the droids are circling around him.
Mm-hmm. He does like a force wave out.
Force burst out. So it knocks everybody down. He runs off to his ship, flies away. Then the droids are like, wait, you two aren't supposed to be here. So then it turns from Savage v. everyone to
droids v.
Jedi.
And Anakin says, well, no sense in hanging around here. And Obi-Wan's like, I agree. And they basically just kind of walk off.
Yeah, so they jump in their ship. Like, I don't even remember seeing any more droids getting mowed down, really. Like, they just kind of
might have
a couple of them maybe at most.
Maybe deflection at that point. Because once Savage is gone and Anakin makes that comment, they run.
They have no more reason to be there, yeah.
They run toward the back of the stage, and then we cut over to Savage. He goes back to Mother Talzin. He's injured and defeated, and tells her that he wasn't strong enough to do the job, but he was betrayed by Ventress, and Mother Talzin's like, oh, we'll get you taken care of, don't you worry. And then she does some mystic fucking Sinai crystal shit again.
Right.
And we get a flash of another a kin of Savage, his long lost brother, right?
Yes, Talzin explicitly mentions, like, you have a brother still, and Savage says, well, I thought all my kin were gone, and it's just me, being that he just killed Farrell.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, yeah, in the orb, the crystal ball, we get a shattered image of
Darth Maul.
Yeah, I'll let you have that one.
My buddy.
Yep.
It's
pretty darn clear. We get a lot of shots of Darth Maul inside the crystal ball. And basically, he said, Talzin says that he is alive.
Mm-hmm.
He's in exile.
In the Outer Rim. And if you can find him, then he will teach you what you need to learn to be bigger, stronger, faster, more effective.
How can she promise that? How does she know?
She's Mother Talzin, man.
How does she know these things?
She
Backing up a little bit.
She has green smoke, witch, force, fire powers.
Right. So, backing up a little bit.
Sure.
Savage says that Asajj betrayed him.
Yes.
Do you feel that's true?
No.
Right.
Mother Talzin is working some machinations behind the scenes. This is what she wants. She wants
divide.
Yes. Well, she wants Maul to come back.
Why does Savage Savage brings it up on his own, though, that Asajj betrayed him. Why does he think she betrayed him? How does he think she betrayed him?
When she's like, "You're a fucking idiot and you're worthless. You're not good enough."
Though? Like, that's just being a dick, right?
Yeah. Maybe because, and then she leaves him there to die? Or to something? I don't know. Even though he was attacking her. I think in his mind, probably the betrayal is like, you used me to kill this guy, and then I wasn't strong enough, so you just shucked me aside.
Okay. That helps me reason that one line out a lot.
Okay.
That line kind of sort of came out of nowhere for me, but honestly. Yeah. Just based on, again, things moved so quickly this episode.
They do move very quickly.
So that line kind of got dropped, and I was like, wait a second, did I miss something? Like, what? Where did that come from?
Nope.
But that explanation helps me a lot.
Yeah, I think it's literally like, you brought me on for this purpose, and then I wasn't effective, so you just left me. So he sees that as betrayal. And going back to last episode, like, he is sticking with Farrell. Like, he and Farrell have either a familial connection or other, right? Whatever,
just a very close friendship.
However you want to look at that. Right. So when Farrell is being targeted, he is there to protect him. Like, they have that kinship or bond or dedication to each other, however you want to look at it. And maybe that's what he expected with Ventress, and he's cast aside, and therefore he sees that as her betraying him.
Yep, makes sense.
I think maybe just the verbiage is a little bit off. But Talzin's like, yeah, whatever. Here's what you need to do. And he's like, oh, how will I ever find him? She gives him a magic talisman. She gives him a necklace with a pendant on it. Yeah, I guess.
Basically, it looks like the precursor to Moana's Heart of Te-Fiti.
Right. I'll take your word on that one. I haven't seen Moana, so.
Oh gosh.
You know.
Get on it. It's on Netflix. It's so good.
I will do that.
Which Moana was explained to me as being a clever, sorry for Pocahontas, we're going to try this again movie, which I think is funny.
Interesting.
There's a YouTuber that I watch. I think I've mentioned her before, but she mentions how the beat of both stories are almost literally the same. Like, there are equivalent characters. But it's like sorry for Pocahontas, we're gonna do this right.
So I take it there's not two groups of characters that are marching toward each other, both calling each other savages?
Unfortunately not, because I would have been all for that. But instead we get some fantastic Lin-Manuel Miranda music, so
well, there we go. That's good. But back to...
I forgot about the pendant already, though, honestly, until you just mentioned it.
Yeah, back to the pendant and the Clone Wars.
It's like glowy and shit too. Like,
yeah, it's Mother Talzin-y.
Mother Talzin shit. Yeah,
you know, it's got the.
And again, she tried to deny that she was a witch for like 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
All he had to do was look around that goddamn room. Again, there's a crystal ball on the fucking table.
Mm-hmm.
And the Jedi are like, we know you're a witch. And she has the gall to sit there and be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Who's a witch?
Yeah.
I'm not a witch, I'm your wife.
Yeah. And then literally, like, on a dime, she turns and she's like, yeah, I'm a witch. Jealous?
That's right, witch. Which witch?
So, yeah. And then basically we just get a few more shots of the crystal ball.
Right? Yeah. Talzin is like, so go and find your brother. And then we get a close-up on the crystal ball again with a more clear picture of Maul's face. And we zoom in on that. And then we iris in with cue loud music. That's the end of this one. Wrap it up.
Indeed. Yes.
This is absolutely the end of a 3-part story arc.
Right, yeah. There is no more to come from this.
Except for there probably is.
And a movie follow-up, perhaps, yes?
Maybe. But
a movie that we definitely did not talk about on this podcast for way too long.
Maybe. That's potential. We'll have to go back and talk about that one again.
Do we?
Yes. Going back to our first question of this episode is, who said our fortune cookie?
Yeah.
I think it's, after seeing this, I go with Maul. Because it's about, like, what's the actual quote? The dark side will bring you power, but not loyalty. The path to evil may bring great power, but not loyalty. And this is exactly what happened to Darth Maul. So as he's a recluse, hiding away, there's got to be shit running through his mind, right?
Right.
And he's thinking about how the dark side, or, the path to evil, the path to the dark side gave him great power, not loyalty. Everybody threw him away. Nobody cared. Right. When shit went down, nobody cared. And that's exactly why...
Everybody left him for dead,
And that's exactly why Opress felt betrayed. Right. Same thing.
But to be fair...
Sure.
To be fair, the dude was cut in half in a PG movie.
It's very true. With a tiny spritz of red.
Just the tiniest little spritz of red. But yeah, so Obi-Wan thought he was dead. I will say this reveal is pretty darn cool. It definitely is a really good reveal, because that said, dude was cut in half. So what and how is this dude still around? What does that mean?
Like Obi-Wan said, it can't be Maul. I killed him myself.
Right. So I like that this episode itself makes that very clear to children who might not know. Right. And that is very possible. We have to acknowledge that to some degree, right? That this show might be a lot of young children's entry point into Star Wars. So I'm really glad that this episode fully acknowledges all of these pieces, that it lays that foundation, right? Yes, the episode 1 is there, right? But this episode still kind of carries that weight, as it should.
So, all that being said, thumbs up, thumbs down. What do you give it?
Thumbs up. It's
awesome.
It's fast. It's fast. I have issues with it, but all the same, it is entertaining. It doesn't waste time. And the progression, despite needing finessing, right? It's logical. It progresses in a very logical fashion. It makes sense to me that the Jedi would have to go to Dathomir, see those guys first, then Mother Talzin, then they end up on Toydaria, right? That sense of progression makes sense to me. Would I have preferred that slowed down, spread out, given some room to breathe? Yes, of course.
Yeah. So, most of this episode, I was just kind of like, meh. We're kind of getting more of the same stuff. We're getting too quick a cuts between plot A, plot B. Definitely. And then we're also getting the villain goes here. The pursuit is mouse goes place, cat follows. Mouse goes place, cat follows. Mouse goes place, cat follows. And I'm like, all right, enough is enough. And then when we get to the end of it, I was like, holy shit. This is when it happens. I've made it pretty clear before, Darth Maul is one of my favorite Star Wars characters in general. So there's no way that I can give this one a thumbs down. If if we would have ended with, obviously you wouldn't from a storytelling standpoint, but if we would have ended with just Savage Opress like getting back to Mother Talzin, defeated, like collapsing outside her fucking house or whatever it is, this probably would have been a thumbs down for me. But you add in that little bit of you do have a long lost brother, he's hiding the Outer Rim, here he is, here's his picture, holy shit, it's Darth Maul, cranks my thumb all the way up.
It's funny you say that, because like I agree that the last few moments of this episode help. Like there definitely is a holy shit, this is like what is happening, that's really cool factor. But all the same, to me, the rest of the episode still holds some value.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine. I was just it's the rest of it to me is like it's fine. It's in the middle. Like it would have been one that I probably would have struggled with, thumbs up, thumbs down, but it would have been borderline. It wouldn't have been, it's in the 45 to 55% range.
Yeah.
So probably depending on my mood, it's going to be above 50 or below 50. But like I said, throwing Maul in, all thumbs up, man.
Yeah. And again, I know I've said this, that sort of tease, I wouldn't call it a cliffhanger, but it's a tease, right?
I call it a cliffhanger.
The reason I don't call it a cliffhanger is because there's no... A cliffhanger to me is it needs to be immediate. Does that make sense? Like we've talked about this before. Right. Like who shot JR? That's different than just like, hey, somebody is alive that wants to shoot JR.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes. It is a detail left in suspense, but not necessarily a cliffhanger. Right. Yeah. And the reason why, like, I remember seeing this back in 2011, because by this time in the run of the show, I was watching the shit when it came out. Right. Right. I remember seeing it and being like, that can't be fucking true. Like, is it true? Like, I've always believed that Darth Maul didn't die and he was going to come back. Like, is this actually fucking happening? Is Mother Talzin telling the truth? Because she has a tendency to distort the facts in her favor. When she tells Anakin and Obi-Wan, oh, yeah, that's Savage Opress, he's on Toydaria. He wasn't on Toydaria yet. Like, that's where he's headed. But she's like, he's there. You better get there quick. But, like, he wasn't there yet. Was she looking into the future then? Is she looking into the past now? Is she just trying to set up Savage for the next step of his training, or the next, is he's obviously pretty powerful. I mean, he took Asajj Ventress and Count Dooku by the throats after 2 days of training. Is she trying to just, dispatch of him, get rid of him, sending him, tricking him to his own demise? That's the stuff that was going through my head the first time I saw this back in 2011.
Yeah, and this sort of tease is something the show has attempted plenty of times before, but has never done well, and definitely not on this level, right?
And you're saying they have done it well this time?
Yeah, like this time, this is the mode that the show should have been in a lot more often, right? Or like I'm fine with standalone episodes, obviously, like that wrap up, and then the next episode kicks into whatever its own story sort of thing happens. But this sort of serialized storytelling, right, where each episode definitely leads into next, where you have a reason to come back.
Yeah, I totally agree.
That is a big component that has completely been missing, And again, I always bring up that example. I don't even remember now because it's been a while since we brought it up. But like that episode of Obi-Wan and Anakin sharing a drink, and they do the swaparoo, but then the next episode botches it up anyways. Is that like Dooku captured or something like that?
Dooku captured.
But yeah, so like, and then the next episode completely botches it up, and it's like such a weird disconnect. But you know, in these last 3 episodes, there is a natural sense of progression. That like maybe like the tease of the last 2 episodes haven't been massive teases, but there's still like enough open threads where you're like, oh, okay, and then this episode starting into it, it makes sense where we're starting off here, right?
Yep.
I do appreciate that to some degree. Some of the fight scenes that we get in this episode, from a storytelling standpoint, have reasons to exist for the most part. You know, like Dooku versus Savage training, like that makes sense. You know,
this should have been like a 44-minute episode instead of a 22-minute episode, and a lot of the issues that I have with it would have been ironed out.
Oh yeah,
because you could take the exact same story, the exact same plot. And I'm not even saying fluff it. I'm not saying pad it. I'm saying explore it.
No, I think there's enough here that
there absolutely is.
There's enough here that, given room to breathe, would have turned everything up. Like, it would have gone from like it's fine, it's good, to like a holy shit, this is awesome. Right? Like there's a lot of room between those two. Right? And like I said, I could have just even had just a whole episode where we only see Dooku and we only see Savage. We don't even see anybody else. We don't see Mother Talzin. We don't see Asajj Ventress. We don't see the Jedi at all.
Yeah.
I would have been A-okay with just a whole Pai Mei sequence of training here, right? So, that said, this is fine.
Yeah. I mean, we got another double thumbs up.
Right.
Same as last week, right?
Yes, I believe. Yep. Yeah, I know last week I gave thumbs up.
Yep. So 2 weeks in a row, double thumbs up. Only time will tell what'll happen next week.
Yeah, which is Overlords.
Overlords, indeed. So in the meantime, if you want to reach out to us, you can. We got all the social medias. Probably not all of them, but we got a couple of them. Twitter at Not the Nerds. What's the other one? Facebook at Not the Nerds Podcast. Good old fashioned Gmail, notthenerdspodcast@gmail.com. We like to say thanks to Kevin for doing our graphic artistry over on Twitter at They Call Me K-Dub. Shouts out to Lindsay for putting together our intro-outro music. StrangeFantasyMusic@gmail.com. So until then, I've been
We're available on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher. Yeah, you missed that one. YouTube. So give us a like, subscribe, comment. You know, Kevin's been responding to a lot of comments on YouTube, which has been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually figuring out how to use YouTube for things other than just watching videos about magic and Lego and I don't even know what else.
Right. So that said, he's been Kevin. I'm Lorenzo. These aren't the nerds you're looking for.
Bye-bye.